we're getting a brand new look into the death investigation of actor Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy. Police released redacted body camera footage from outside of the couple's home. Now, this is where the couple, you recall, were found dead back in February. And this new footage shows workers who called police to report seeing somebody lying on the floor inside. Let's watch.
So you got here and saw that the door was open, right? And saw her.
Me and him,
you guys both did?
Yeah, he walked down on that side. He checked the door on that side. It was locked, and he said, this door is never locked. So then we kept walking, and I seen something laying there. I thought it was animals that she has.
Yeah.
Until I see him, I've seen him like just buckle up, turn around, and then that's when I see him.
Did they find gas or anything in there?
There was no initial detection, but we have windows open. And
Sure.
It's actually having New Mexico gas coming out.
Oh, okay.
Because who they are, I don't have one on me. I just want to keep this limited as much as possible, because once this gets out, you know how this is going to turn with the,
A week later, medical examiner said that Hackman died of heart disease and his wife Betsy died from hantavirus. A New Mexico court last week granted a temporary restraining order against the release of any photos or videos that show Hackman Hackman and his wife inside of their home, rather. So let's talk about this. What do you think after seeing some of that body camera footage? And we've got a little more to play for you. I want to bring in our guests. What a great panel we have this morning. I've got former prosecutors Melba Pearson, Randolph Rice, and Josh Ritter all on the program. Thank you all for being with us this morning. And Josh, especially you waking up so early on the West Coast for us. Josh, would you kick off our conversation, please? Watching the video, tell me what jumped out at you?
You know, it's funny. The first thing that struck my mind is we've been so confused as to what that neighborhood was like that no one would notice the comings and goings or the lack thereof of Hackman and his wife, right? Because so much of this has been about why didn't anyone check on them? Why didn't anyone notice? Why didn't they notice that the dogs were coming and going and no one was caring for them? But you're getting a little glimpse, at least, of just kind of how rural an area that was. And that's what struck me immediately, is this might make a little more sense. Sounds like it was a very secluded area that they lived. The surrounding that we're able to see, at least in that small bit of video that we were looking at, looks like it's not like there's neighbors living on top of them. Maybe the idea that they would go unnoticed, maybe the idea that the dogs would go unnoticed makes a little bit more sense now.
Sure. Appreciate it, Josh. You know, speaking of the dog, let's look at a clip where they talk about luring the dog.
Did you take off again? Yeah, it's close. She's hungry.
Trying to offer the little dog some food there. Yeah, so sad. We know multiple dogs on the property, 2 alive, 1 deceased in the house that died from starvation and dehydration because that dog was in an enclosed area. Melba, to you next, please. What were the things that jumped out at you watching this fresh video footage?
Well, good morning, everyone. And it's just an awful, awful tragedy. I just can't get my mind around. And this, I don't know, this makes me very just sad to think about this, that Gene Hackman was alone for a whole week with no one to care for him, and not understanding because he has Alzheimer's that his wife was dead. And just, I think they probably made a collective decision to, they're going to care for each other because they're very, very intense about their privacy. And they didn't think that this possibly could happen. And you also see that in their wills as well, because both of them basically left their estates to the other spouse, and now both of them are gone. So you think about the trust battle that's going to happen, basically the battle over the estate. And, it's just so awful and tragic that this is the way, both of them had to end their lives.
Right. You're right, Melba. I have another clip here. Let's take a listen to the 911 call.
Are they breathing?
I have no idea. I'm not inside the house. It's closed. It's locked. I can't go in. but I see them. She's laying down on a floor from the window.
Do they appear to be completely awake?
On the way?
Do they appear to be awake or alert?
No, it's not.
Okay. Are they moving at all?
No, dude, they're not moving. Just send somebody out here really quick.
Randolph Rice, to you next, please. What jumped out at you watching all the videos?
Well, if this would have been a different scenario, we know now that they died from natural causes, but, oftentimes when we see body cam, it's the beginning of an investigation of a criminal matter. And unfortunately, that was not the case here, but, looking at these body cams, it just shows you how valuable they could be if this was an investigation. Obviously, the officers showing up on the scene, talking to the caretakers, that's the beginning of that investigation. So fortunately, that wasn't the case here. Unfortunately, it was a death that was natural. But, it just shows you how technology has come so far that we now have all this information that we used to not have 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Right. Yeah, isn't that the truth? I think so many people were just so upset with the news, right? The news of this. And I think, of course, headlines are swirling. He was such a beloved, accomplished actor, and nobody wanted to see him found dead this way. And his wife found dead with him. It's so stunning. And I think at the outset, everybody was thinking, was this something criminal? My gosh, he was elderly. She was not. But anything criminal has been completely ruled out. This is just plain sad. But the conversation isn't stopping, is it? Josh Ritter, you live in California where Gene Hackman worked for many, many years. I would imagine places you go and things you do, people bring this up to you knowing that you're an attorney and you have your show Courtroom Confidential. What are some of the things people say to you, Josh, when you get asked about this case?
You're absolutely right. He was beloved, and I think that is why it immediately caught everyone's interest. And then the circumstances, we all jumped to that idea, I know that I did, that this must have been carbon monoxide poisoning, because initially we thought, how do two people just seemingly drop dead at the same time without any other explanation? As the investigation unfolded, we realized that no, in fact, she had died sometime before him. And now we realize that he tragically was living in that home for several days while she was dead. And that, I think, is the heartbreaking thing that I hear most people talking about. It's just trying to understand what the final moments of his life were like. And like you said, it was incredibly sad. It was incredibly lonely. We know that he was suffering from advanced Alzheimer's, and we wonder how much did he even understand what was going on, but certainly not enough to even call for help. I mean, there was no 911 call made in that time that he was alone in the house. So it's at least the people that I'm speaking to, many people are wondering just why wasn't anyone checking in? Why wasn't he able to call for help if there was some time where he was alone there in the home?